Hi everyone. Hope we've all had a great week. Welcome to our weekly Communities of Practice Sunday check-in session, a half hour of Dharma, reflection, and community connections. If you are a new member of our community, please accept our wholehearted welcome and know that if you're unsure or have any questions about our practices and topics, we're all here to help. And if you're a regular, welcome back. It is customary in Australia to begin any meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners of our land. So in the spirit of reconciliation, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we walk, study, and reside, the Wadi people of the Dharawal Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. I also pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all are. So just a little bit about our check-in sessions. The check-in sessions have been developed by our Communities of Practice team and the entire community with the purpose of developing a reflective practice in response to our changing world. Guided by humanistic Buddhism, we would like to help each other cultivate our practices and build memorable friendships. If you've been following along, you'll know that we tend to theme our sessions based on the needs of our community and the wider world. We invite you to suggest any topics you think would be of interest and benefit, so we can continue in this spirit. We're coming to the end of our little exploration of the 6 perfections of the Bodhisattva path. Last week, Aina encouraged us to strive for diligence over laziness, and diligently she has returned to guide us through the perfection of patience. Please welcome Aina.
As we usually do, we start with a couple minutes of meditation, a time to center ourselves and be present here, now, and not just here and now with ourselves, but with our vibrant community, which is very special and very special to me. So find a comfortable place, sit tall, but not too tall that it hurts. Maybe remove your glasses so that you can not be guided by all of those things in your sight, and close your eyes and breathe in, breathe out, be thankful, and have patience for our wandering mind. Now let us come back together in the present and in the presence of one another. And today we're going to focus on patience. And I have a personal story of patience today. We have been patiently waiting to be able to open the temple for an English Dharma class. So I was over at the temple today cleaning up the room. You know, when a room stays unused for 2, 3 years, it becomes a closet. So we now have a room ready to welcome 10 to 15 people on the first Sunday of August that I'm very pleased about. Um, my go-to definition for all things Dharma-esque is the Fashang that was written by Venerable Zhu Chang. And she has a number of definitions for patience, but this is the one that I'd like to bring forward today. She says patience does not mean passively striking, um, not striking back when beaten, or not talking back when cursed, but that rather it's an attitude for dealing with affairs that is active, accountable, accommodating, engaged, and carefree. She tells us clearly that patience is an active response to the world around us and our inside world as well. And you know, our discussions, especially Stephen's research and resultant book 2 weeks ago, caused me to really begin to reflect on how deeply everyone thought about the environment, the physical and economic and emotional world, and the peril in which all of this is placing us in these days. But then the Dharma tells us to be patient. And then I was thinking, how do we do that when we see the world structure so bent and our hope so bruised? Do we calmly do a little say la vie attitude, what will be philosophy, and just let it go by? Um, you know, sometimes we also see equanimity in that way. It's a misunderstanding of the word that we just remove ourselves from worldly concerns, where patience means that we actively look at those concerns of the world. So I think that patience is less removing ourselves from the world, but rather learning how to engage with compassion and wisdom. And sometimes that's very hard with what we're dealing with to be that contemplative about it. Um, and what I like about Buddhism is a lot of times when you ask what is something, the Buddha answers what it isn't. And we talk a lot about what impatience is, the opposite of patience. And the sutras and the literature talk about 3 levels of or 3 definitions of impatience: anger that can be at ourselves, others, the state of affairs, and not able to accept that there's our suffering, our personal suffering of our planet. We want it to just go away. And then we also become intolerant of others' thoughts and opinions. We even at times hate what we see, what we hear, and what we hear spouted, especially in these difficult political times in our country. And then the other cause of impatience is a restlessness, that we can't accept that things are not the way they will always be. And I was thinking of Joy 2 weeks ago, um, having a bit of a different outlook where he was talking about change. And that made me think about how sometimes we become so restless because we can't give ourselves time because we want things to change now. And then you look at these impatient words, and they're really embedded in what we've been taught, the 3 poisons of greed, hatred, and ignorance. We disparage those who don't see things the way we do. And we often see them as somehow less than, less adequate, of less value. We want them to change, to see the light as it's dawned on us. And then we're angry at what we see as they're being oblivious to the world around them. And we want to see them to see the light, our light, without delay. I ran across this from Barbara O'Brien. It's an article on the paramita of patience. And she was using the Pali words and the Sanskrit words, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce them because I haven't gotten to go to the Nantian and learn a little more. So I will just use the word patience and forbearance. And she uses a Jean-Paul Sartre view of his impatience, that hell is other people. And she said a Buddhist might say, hell is something we create because we blame other people. She says in the article that it's not very catchy, but maybe it's more helpful, in basically that we create our own hell. And that's where the Buddhist admonishment to be patient and to be respectful and approach others with compassion and understanding is so important, so that we see their world as our own. And that isn't easy when we are passionate about the need for change. So let's assume that we are indeed correct with everything that Jonathan and Stephen were talking about the other week. And I frankly think that they are. But now I have to try to be patient. And it's important that we employ an active patience, not just not talking to people or writing them off, but we want to encourage people to accept the premise that change in our society and in our world is necessary. So I was thinking, what gets in the way of that most? And I ran across Shantideva, his poem in a way on patience. And basically what he's saying is that the greatest thing that gets in the way of our being patient is anger. That it just destroys the virtue of patience. And he says, if I harbor painful thoughts of anger, I shall not experience mental peace. I shall find no joy or happiness, and I shall be unsettled, unable to sleep. And think of the times when we have been so upset about something that we toss and turn and turn and toss because of our lack of accepting things as they are and having a positive approach toward change. The Venerable Master also adds another consideration, and this is in his article called Think Outside the Box. And he talks about the restlessness part of the lack of patience. And when I looked at this, I thought what he's really talking about is our lack of humility. He says that we're in a constant state of restlessness because we fight unnecessarily. He reminds us that the world is not perfect and that there are always unavoidable flaws in self, in others, and in the world. So he gives us a few things to think about, allowances, if you will, to consider. So he says, allow others to be right and willing to be wrong. And when we know something so well, that's hard to do. Allow others to be great and be willing to be small. Allow others to have and be willing to go without. And allow others to be happy and be willing to suffer. And I think that leads me to sort of the questions for this evening of what gets in our way of patience, and how can our being more patient allow us to create the change that we believe our planet, our relationships, our politics, our societies need. So I was thinking, how do we do this? And the questions that I came up with is that first we have to look at ourselves. What's our impatient stumbling block? Is it anger, intolerance, restlessness? Mine's restlessness. I want things done now. And how can you reframe our active responses to issues so that we demonstrate respect for others and find a way of communicating that really goes back to what the Venerable Master said, except that maybe we're not totally, I can't say that we're wrong, we're not totally right, because I'm thinking of the issues that we've been talking about. And then what happens when we do take time to hear the other side, we listen to the thoughts or the opinions or the findings of someone else? How does that affect us, and how does it change relationships? So, Liam, it's time for you to do your magic.
Right, thank you, Aina. Now, community, it's over to you to discuss. We'll be placed in groups of 3 to 4 to share and discuss. And in the beginning, we do recommend spending a little bit of time to get to know each other. Of course, do let the flow of your discussions guide you, but we'll provide some prompts here and there. Our sessions are guided by metta, which is loving kindness for all beings. So let's use this opportunity to express and receive loving kindness to and from each other by taking time to pause, share, and listen. Afterwards, we'll ask you to share some of your findings with the larger group. But for now, let's break out for some rich and nourishing discussions. See you all back in 15 minutes. Okay, welcome back everyone. Hope we've had some good breakout groups. I'm sure there was a lot of wisdom there. If you'd all like to share your wisdom, please type in the chat box and we'll collect it all for you and we'll distribute it in the form of a lovely poster midweek. Aina, if you'd like to read out some of the comments in the chat.
Patience is virtue. Transcend impatient to stillness of mind. Stay PC, peace and calm. Take a deep breath and let it go. And that's one of the things that Joyce was saying about concentrate on the breathing, just breathe to get ourselves out of the conflict. And Liam says patience is letting go of wanting things my way. Well, why not, right? It's the way we sometimes feel. Priscilla said, we talked about being patient at others who are angry with us. Jonathan once reminded us that anger is love with nowhere to go. Beautiful. Yeah. Patience is the generous gift that we can give to ourselves to appreciate the moment.
Okay, so thank you everyone for coming to this check-in session. We really hope that the check-in session was helpful to you and that you experienced the unconditional love and compassion of this community. For anyone who might be experiencing a greater need than what today could meet, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us via email. You can also reach out to the professional organizations on the screen. We hope you enjoyed our exploration into the perfections and that you're well on your way to perfecting some of them for yourselves. Next week, we'll kick off our August check-in sessions guided by our good friend Katia Todorello. So do join us for what is sure to be another insightful month. We're also on the lookout for more inspiring stories, and we always love to hear from our community. So if you would like to share your turning point story, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us via email or just hang around after the session for a chat. For now though, as we check out today, let's recite the dedication of merits together to send love and compassion to each other and whoever is in need.
Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows.
Thank you everyone for joining us for the check-in session. Now we'll continue as usual with our post check-in discussions. So please stay around for the next half an hour or so if you do have time. Otherwise, we'll see you all again next Sunday at 11 a.m. Thanks everyone.